Hi, my name is Kara Carbs, and I'm a broadcast major here at OU. Throughout the summer taking this political geography class, I've questioned a lot how I can take all this information that I have learned into my future career. And I think my answer to that really has a lot to do with my favorite chapter that we read throughout this class. It was the chapter on identities. This chapter was my favorite because I found it to be so interesting, and it is something that I think everyone can take into consideration later in life. This chapter talked a lot about how everyone has certain identities that make up who we are. We don't have one singular identity, and our identity, like everything else in political geography, is always changing. Part of our identity can come from our political background, what political party we identify with. It can come from your ethnic background, your family background, your religion, and so many other factors that make up just who we are. What I found to be the most interesting is that out of all these things add up and influence how we see the world, that can influence how we vote in elections and even the simpler decisions in life. So to go back to the earlier question of how this is going to relate to my future career, as a journalist, it is our job to tell stories, and a lot of the time we are telling other people's stories, and if you're doing your job right, then you're telling the stories of people who can't tell them themselves. I think that in particular, this discussion of identities is going to help me to understand people a little bit better. I think that it will help me unpack how they view the world through their experiences and their own personal identities, and hopefully this will help me to tell their stories better. I think the topic of political geography is interesting and helpful to a lot of people because it brings more background and information into how our world works in relation to political geographies and politics. I hope that this class brings more insight and I can draw from it in my future career to better understand not only people, but our society and the world that we live in. For this class, there's a lot of reading and writing attached to it. For me, I really like writing, which is why I chose the major that I did. However, it's not really something that everybody enjoys. I definitely don't enjoy reading for school, and it's not something that I like to find time to do outside of all the other things that I have to do, especially reading a textbook. The one thing that really helped me with my blog entries was forcing myself to actually be interested in what I was reading and what I was writing about. I think the first tip that I have to being a better writer is having an interest in what you're writing about. If you're interested, then you're going to put in more effort. Another tip I have is to make sure you at least understand what you're writing about. If you can't muster up the ability to be interested, then at least take the time to understand what you're talking about. If you understand it, then that will come across in your writing and will make whatever you're writing about better. Those were the two things that I did most during this class when writing my blog posts, but other than that, I used my prior knowledge that I learned throughout school to write properly and grammatically correct. I would say when it comes to writing well, not only should you write in your own voice, but try not to make it sound too smart. If you're too concerned about using big words, then it's not going to come across very well. This class comes with a lot of reading and writing, but if you have good time management skills and you put in your best effort, then you will excel in this class.